On you.
Aye. Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, February 28th. It is now 7:17 p.m. Town Council meeting in the Town Council Chambers, 1170 Main Street, West Warwick, Rhode Island.
Councilman Licciardi.
Here.
Councilman Messia.
Here.
Councilman Padula.
Here.
Council Vice President D'Amico.
Here.
President Goslin.
Here.
There's a quorum on record. West Warwick SAD citations.
Okay, as everybody knows, the last council meeting, we passed the second reading of ordinance 2016-15, which was brought to us really by SAD, which is Students Against Destructive Decisions. A group of children, teachers, and state officials were all involved in getting this ordinance to us and working very close with us, having dinners, inviting parents, leaders of the community, the police department, and whoever else, state representatives, state senators, just to start working on this ordinance. I think it was about, and on our end, 6 months in the making. Well, it was brought to us somewhere in September, October, and it finally passed here in February 7th, 2017. And that just shows you 2016-15 is when we started working on it, so it was last year. So if I can have the following individuals, if they're not here, but if you're here, come on up. Jacob Bernard. Just come on right up here. Christian Capasso. Thomas Cornicelli. Marissa Carlone. Bailey Diorio. Jordan Dory. Victoria Goslin, I hope I pronounced that right. Jesse Leroy. Zoe Moreau. Abby Pipper. Molly Pipper. Piper. Is it spelled right though? It has 2 P's. Is that right?
That's why you sent it to me.
Lance Preston and Alana Richardson. What is it? Aliana. Okay. Thank you. Along with Kimberly Main, Judith Chick, Kathy Richer, Benvinda Santos, and Amanda Slocum.
We need a bigger room. See, I got just a smile.
Okay, resolve that the West Warwick Town Council commends all of you for your commitment to the Students Against Destructive Decisions in their goal of making the community aware of the dangers of flavored tobacco products and the way advertisers entice youth to try to buy them. Your exemplary dedication and hard work made it possible for the Town Council to pass an ordinance banning the sale of flavored tobacco products in the areas of West Warwick stores that would be most appealing to young teens. Now therefore, your coordinator, advisors, and assistants are to be congratulated for their dedication to bringing this project to fruition and thereby making the town of West Warwick more aware of the dangers of flavored tobacco and the importance of protecting our youth. Be it further resolved that the West Warwick Students Against Destructive Decisions be commended for their perseverance and hard work for their group to develop those qualities of character essential for success as members. I congratulate all of you for all the hard work that you have done. So good job.
No, I need it open, it's hot in here.
Judith? I want to say it wrong again. Aliana? Wow. Molly, if they're spelled wrong, please let me know and I'll get you names. If they're spelled wrong, just let us know and we'll take care of a new one. Zoe? Victoria? Jordan? Jordan? They're all home doing homework, right? Bailey? Marissa? Thomas? Jacob? Lance? Kristen? Jesse? And I know one more.
There's one more here too, dude.
Oh, wait a minute, what people there? Oh, you're taking pictures of it?
Yeah, I took a picture, but I left it in front of you.
Kimberly May. So good job.
It's on. Okay. Hi, I'm Bailey Durio. I am the president of this SAD chapter, and I would just like to give you all, I would like to say a huge thanks. You guys have been phenomenal working with us, hearing what we had to say. It really means so much to us. We created a little card for you, just a huge thank you. This has been an amazing experience.
Thank you.
Dear Town Council, thank you for supporting us in our process of creating our ordinance. We greatly appreciate you all, Angelo Padula, David Goslin Jr., Jason K. Messier, Jason Licciardi, and John D'Amico. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll put it in Town Hall. Great job.
Now just remember, you can use this for your resume builders also.
College resume. College application.
You know what I mean? I don't know. No, he's gonna.
FY 2016 audit financial statements presented by Jim Wilkinson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thanks for affording me a few minutes to review the results of the town's financial audit. The report was issued on the 15th of February. Later than was planned, we had some abrupt and unexpected turnover in our office. We had to redeploy another team to complete the engagement. I want to thank management, town, school, everyone involved, cooperated with us, provided us with all the access, all the answers to all the questions we had. Thought we'd spend a few minutes going through, and we provided a brief slide deck. Please feel free to ask questions at any time. Jumping ahead to page 3 of the slides, I just want to go over a couple of the town general fund highlights for the fiscal year ended June of 2016. The town's fund balance for the fiscal year decreased by a little over $1,050,000. The budgeted change was an increase of $200,000. As of June 30th of last year, the undesignated fund balance was just over $453,000. That number represents less than 1% of the operating budget, and I think, as everybody knows, that level is well below the healthy benchmarks of 8 to 16% of expenditures. That being said, the performance this year is actually better than what was projected in the 5-year recovery plan. So while the news isn't great, it's better than what was planned. You can see on page 4 of the slides There's a diagram charting the fund balance of the general fund for the last 6 years. You can see that far right column, how it's been decreased down. The blue is that undesignated or free unassigned fund balance portion. Not to dwell on the negative, some highlights. Results of operations for the year contributing to that decrease in fund balance. Revenues were below budget by just over $791,000. Property taxes, the collection of property taxes was the biggest driver in that. Two factors in there. There was a lag of collection in prior year balances, as well as the current year budget assumptions were not met. The budget assumption was for 97.5% of the assessment to be collected. That came in at just 96.9. While it's bad news for this fiscal year, certainly those taxes are still out there to be collected and to come in as revenue in subsequent fiscal years. So and while it contributed to the reduction in fund balance this year, when those funds are collected, they will restore that piece. So. Expenditures were just $260,000 above appropriated amounts. There were half a dozen areas where there were some significant variances. However, looking at that, we did not come to the conclusion that there were any systemic weaknesses in the budget process or control over expenditures. It was largely one-time items, things that will not likely reoccur. Going further to page 7, the school department, they ended the year with an unrestricted fund balance of the unrestricted fund had a fund balance of just over $4,275,000. A little over $4 million of that is committed for educational purposes. The rest of that is unspendable as it represents deposits and prepaid expenditures. That fund balance is an accumulation of all prior year balances and does include that current year increase of $1,092,000 for the year. The school grant funds recognized just a little better than $2,328,000 of operations to supplement the operating budget. And for the school department, the revenues were $162,000 above anticipated amounts. Really contributing to the school's increase in fund balance, their expenditures were $1,330,000 below what was appropriated to them. The school department is reinvesting its fund balance. It's been spending money on capital outlays. Then this last fiscal year that just closed, capital outlays totaled $1,176,000. It's really being reinvested in capital building improvements as well as student-related technology. In the long run, what they're reinvesting in capital now should go a long way to avoid long-term borrowing for those items in the future.
And that was the explanation we got last year also.
Right.
Instead of having to come to us in 2 years, they're using it now.
Right. It's not being, it's not being frivolously spent on anything that isn't going to result in long-term benefits.
No, take a look up there. You see the improvements go on.
The next slide on page 9, the rating agencies really look at the school's general fund and unrestricted fund on a combined basis. So while that chart earlier on the general fund certainly shows the general fund's fund balance coming down, the chart on page 9 really shows the combined results of fund balance. And you can see that at least for the past 3 years, the combined fund balance has really been about that $6 million balance, which is, again, good news for the town. As the town general fund continues to recover and rebuild its own surpluses as the school spends some of theirs down on capital going forward.
I just want to add one point to that. The 5-year plan that was developed, a few years back, did actually look at the school and the town combined. So again, that's what the agencies look at. And that's what we actually had planned for in the 5-year plan as well. So again, these are, it's expected that you would look at the two of them together just like the rating agencies would. So although the general fund or the town hasn't done well, the school has certainly been doing well and has been investing that money, as Jim indicated, so that in the future they don't have to come to the council and to the town to request expenditures for some of those capital items that they've put the money aside. So in a sense, combined, it's good news that the money is being invested the way it is in the school department.
Moving on to page 10, we have a few highlights on the wastewater authority. Really, again, another solid year of operations, net income of $848,000. The fund has net assets of a little better than $42,427,000. Most of that, again, is invested in capital assets, piping in the ground, pumping stations, treatment, and the like. They do have an unrestricted balance of just over $9.2 million. Going on to page 11, the town pension plan. The funding status has varied. The past 3 years, it's hovered around that 18-19%. The funding percentage shown in the financial statements is based on the fair value of the assets as of the reporting date, where the actuarial valuations and the actuarial certificates, those actuarial values, those changes are smoothed over a period of years. So those assets have different values under the actuarial method than the financial statement method. But we did present both of those in here just for information. At the end of 2016, the net pension liability, the liability that's out there that has not been covered by invested assets, is just over $127 million. Certainly the biggest number in the financial statements. I think we mentioned it last year. It's been discussed at length for years. The funding has been budgeted for the past 2 years at 100% of the annually required contribution. That's been based on the preliminary actuarial reports for those 2 years. There have been some adjustments in the final reports, so the funding was as near to 100% as could be, but there were some small adjustments. Certainly, prior to 2015, those contributions were nowhere near the required contribution. Investment earnings for the last 2 years since the implementation of the new pension standard have been slightly below the actuarial assumptions. 2016 a little better than 2015, as you can see on the slide. The chart on page 13, I think it really goes to show, again, those 15 and 16 years where those columns in blue representing those actual contributions of a little over $8 million. And you can compare that to where that's been in the previous 8 years. While the general fund did have a decrease in fund balance this year, it really met its full funding obligation for the long-term liabilities. Certainly that pension contribution could have been reduced by $1 million, and the general fund would have broken even, but still the problem of the pension fund would not have been addressed. So,
if I could just add one point to that as well, that's another item that the rating agencies will look at, because that was one of their concerns initially when we first had some decreases in our credit rating, was that the pension was not being fully funded. So in addition to meeting the obligations of the union contracts, we're also funding that pension system, so the rating agencies will look at that and realize that the town has now made the steps to actually have the pension reform, and in addition, actually fund it at the level it should, as well as the OPEB, which Jim will mention next, which is the post-retirement benefits.
And that's pretty much in color code here on this page. If you look at anywhere between 2010 to 2013, there was more red than blue. And if you look at 14, 15, and 16, the blue took over. So,
right.
Which is good news.
It's really the equivalent of not letting that pension liability just keep rolling on the credit card for years and that never being addressed. Certainly, if the required contributions are made each year, the funding is designed to fully fund the pension over 30 years. And
My concern is, and I'd like to get your opinion on this, is if we do this year after year after year, the taxes are going up and up and up, and we're still not solving the problem. All we're doing is maintaining it. We're not going under the $200 million that we owe with the OPEB. So what we're doing is we're prolonging, even though we're giving $8 million to the pension fund, you're still 19.25% funded. It's not going up. It's not going down. And my concern is, in 10 years from now, if we're going the way we're going, how much do you see the taxes going unsustainable and this being unsustainable?
I think
Your professional
I think well
opinion.
before 10 years you'll see that. I think in the last 2 years, the making the required contributions fully funded, it's been offset somewhat by the lag in investment earnings, because certainly the design is that your contributions as well as investment earnings are going to continue to grow that fund. Certainly the money going in the fund is more than enough to pay current benefits, so you are growing assets. The vested liability is also increasing.
As long as the stock market produces the way it's producing.
Right.
And as long as we get growth. When there's no growth.
Right.
And if I could just add a little bit to that, we did actually, as part of, just broke the mic, brand new mics here. As part of the work that was done back in 2014, the State Pension Committee did actually look for any plans in critical status to present a funding improvement plan. So some of the former council members will remember that we did actually produce a document and come up with a plan to have the actual fund funded at a level of 60% within a 20 year period, so that again it would be out of a critical status and it wouldn't be the same
Anybody
situation as what we
actually
have.
read the NIHOT report and
and looked at the 25-year plan, basically, you'll see it's gonna take 15 years on the rise of the pension contribution to finally start seeing it reduce itself over the next 10 years of that. So,
And how much sustainable on the taxes,
But-
David, in 14 years?
Angela, what I just said though is right now, if we're putting in 8 million and then it's 10 million, and if you look at the NIHOD report that you have a copy of, okay? In
I
year
looked at
I'm just throwing out years. Year 2025, the contributions are only requiring 6 to 7 million. It starts reducing, so it's not as heavy. So you're right that we have to get through a hurdle to get over. We have to get over a hurdle. But once we get over that major hurdle, which we knew it wasn't going to be done in 2 years, 3 years, it was about 15 years.
But what a lot of people don't understand, they figured a 5-year plan, it was over. It's not. Everybody I talk to, they don't understand that this
I've
goes
said it
on.
numerous times. We should be
forever.
working on another 5-year plan.
Exactly.
Whether it's zero
With-
tax increase or whatever.
Well,
but
you
there
know-
should be
you
a
know that's-
continued 5-year plan.
That's not gonna happen. As long as the 5-year plan, you're gonna have a tax increase, and in 10 years, when and Mike Riley looked at it, he said, in 10 years, you people are looking at over a 40% tax increase on your homeowners, not counting what it's gonna be on the businesses. So that's what concerns me, where it's so unsustainable. I mean, the state gave us a plan. The state's no better than anybody else. They're worse off than we are. So I didn't really care. I wouldn't take any advice from them, to be honest with you. If they were wanting to do my business, I'd back off from them.
If I can just add something to that, we actually, although the state was working with us, a lot of the plan was our own doing and our own development. You know, they gave us some advice on some of the guidelines and whatnot, but some of it was our own. It was more of our own document than them forcing it on us. And one of the things that we are doing is the OPEB. By funding the OPEB, pre-funding the OPEB, like most communities are not, that is something that can be a tool in future years to help us reduce the post-employment benefits and the retiree costs, to shift some of that money over to the pension to avoid potential increases to the taxes. So there are other things that we're going to continue to do, and we have
It's
been doing.
just
You gotta reduce
my concern.
expenditures, too.
It's just my concern that the taxes are unsustainable. The pensions are unsustainable. Everybody knows you can't be 45, 50 years old and retire with $5,000, $6,000 a month for life. I don't care what anybody says, whatever they want to believe, whatever they don't want to believe. It's unsustainable, and maybe 15 years down the road, they're gonna say, you know, Padula was wrong, totally wrong, and I hope they were with the property I own. And I hope they don't say, you know what, that salvage yard owner was 100% right.
I mean, certainly, you know, the plan for funding the pension does get it to a fully funded status. There is a crossover point where the accumulated earnings will start funding more of the contribution that should turn around. It's a difficult pill to swallow, but not addressing the pension would be a catastrophic disaster much sooner, because just the pay-as-you-go cost would certainly
I'm not
outstrip
saying
this.
that you don't have to
yeah,
address it.
Yeah.
I just think taxing our way out of this is not gonna help us.
So I just wanted to make sure I'm clear. So this makes sense to me. So there is a hurdle that we have to essentially overcome. And hopefully in the process of this, we see growth in the town. That's one thing we need. We have to be hopeful that the investments do well. And ultimately, we hope that we can take the difference in the pension contributions and put that back into the budget and offset the tax burden. Is that correct? Is that the goal?
Once it gets to that
point.
that threshold. But in the meantime, what we'll need to continue to do is do things similar to like we did with the wind turbines, for example. The money that we are potentially saving without those additional costs and passed on by National Grid,
Right.
some of that money can be used for other purposes.
And that was
to,
like
again,
$1.5
try to
million
lessen the
a
burden
year?
on the tax.
Well, you have to continue
Right.
trying to save money.
Right,
in
exactly,
other areas.
exactly. You know, it's gonna be some combination of trying to save on the expense side and minimizing, you know, the impact, because, you know, obviously Councilman Padula, you know, has a good point about the way the tax have been, and we'll have to do whatever we can do to try to minimize that impact, or possibly eliminate it if we can find some cost-saving measures.
Is there a projected year to reach that peak?
Yeah, it's in the
Yeah.
NIHOD report.
It's
Did you
all-
get a copy of that?
I did, yes.
Yeah, by
180 pages.
By 2032, the funding improvement plan that was adopted in 2014 will have us out of critical status and at 60%. And I want to say approximately 15 years before then, I believe that's when the point is where the contribution will, drop compared to the growth that we have. But obviously, until we get to that point, it's a hurdle we'll have to address as we go through the budget process each year.
Mr. Council President, members of the council, remember that the NIAT report was commissioned not only by the town but by the pension board. It goes out 25 years. By statute, the 5-year plan can only go 5 years out, because that's all the law in the general, and that's what the statutes will allow for. Actually, special legislation was introduced to allow this town council to go beyond the 3-year plan. So actually, the 5-year plan is just a component of the NIHART plan. But as Council President indicated, you've got issues regarding monies coming in that maybe did not exist 5 years ago that are coming in to replace certain revenues. Because remember, if you go back 25 years when the pension contributions weren't made, that's what you're playing catch up on for the next 25 years. When new revenues are coming in, replacing some revenues that cannibalized quote unquote profits, so the surplus goes down, you're going to catch up on that. Now again, Councilman Padula is correct. If you just look at it from a revenue side, obviously everything is a tax increase. But if you look at it as a total and say, if you eliminate the following expenditures, you don't have to come up with that revenue. That revenue that's already there is now going to go towards OPEB and go towards the pension plan, which again, it's a long time, but in the span of 100 years, 25 years isn't really a lot, especially if you look back the past 25 years that went by very quickly when the contributions weren't being made up until 2012. 13, excuse me.
So the point you just made, just so I can clarify, we're given a special 5-year plan.
Instead of going, the order of the general would confirm, and the General Assembly would confirm a 3-year plan without any question.
So going forward,
We went with a 5-year plan to basically keep West Warwick on a short leash, because nobody knows what growth is going to be over a 5-year period of time. No one's going to know what new either commercial, industrial, business revenues are going to be for taxes that did not exist before.
Okay.
You don't know if the stock market's going to be healthy. You don't know if the real estate market's going to be healthy. All of these indexes around us are always in flux and they're always variables. But the one thing that's been constant for the past 3 years, perhaps 4, is that our bond rating has either been stabilized or going up. So at least they're recognizing what West Warwick has done through this 5-year plan.
And just to add a little point to the OPEB or the other post-employment benefits, that's basically the retiree cost. I know Jim is going to get to that in the next slide. But for the new council members, just to give you a little idea of how that works, we currently have retiree medical costs that we do a pay-go. We pay the claims as they occur. With having the OPEB trust and doing the pre-funding, the plan with that is to eventually be able to have those benefits paid out of the trust and not paid out of the general fund. So there's an opportunity to potentially have some savings down the road off of the general fund, so there's less of an expenditure and then less need for revenues in terms of any potential tax increases. So that's a step in the right direction that, to be honest, a lot of communities are not doing. We're one of the ones who are actually, I believe we might be funding the most.
1 out of 5.
So, that's a step in the right direction, and when we get into the budget, you will see there is an amount that will be in this year's budget as well. And as long as we continue to grow that, eventually that'll be to the point where we can actually take some of it and pay some of the retiree claims from that trust and not have that much of a burden on the general fund. Whether it's $500,000 or $1 million, you got to see how that fund actually builds up. But right now, all we're doing is putting in, or not all we're doing, but we're actually putting in some additional money to be invested within that trust, paying the retiree costs as they occur, and then eventually 5 or 10 years from now, at that point, maybe we can actually stop paying from the trust and avoid that burden on the general fund. So it's planning for the future to avoid, those years where it goes up high in the pension.
And certainly, the 5-year plan is a monitoring tool. I wish more of my governmental clients use 3- and 5-year plans. Multi-year budgeting is great. It allows you to give a little more foresight than the typical 12-month budgeting cycle. You can do a little bit more long-term planning. The one caveat with that is part of those 3- and 5-year plans is to really monitor the rate of return on the investments in the pension and OPEB funds. Because certainly if you're at a 7% or 7.5% discount rate and you're not making that, experience studies should be done to show what's the true rate of return. Are we fooling ourselves with that contribution rate? The discount rate, is that deflating on what our required contribution really should be? You know, certainly there's not, you know, long-term, you know, 2 years has been monitored here since the new pension standard. You know, 3 to 5 years out, if those the returns are still lagging the assumption, you know, it's probably a good idea to take a look at that and either, you know.
It's not only that too, it's also growth. How much growth do we have in this town? How much room do we have for growth? We're only 8 square miles, there's not too much property left for growth. What happens when that growth runs out? What happens when a business comes in and says, wow, my tax is gonna be 50 grand here. I can move wherever, Narragansett. I'm only paying 10,000. So, you know, I'm just throwing it all out there where everybody's thinking, you know, we're gonna have all this growth, we're gonna have all this 20% interest on our money, the stock market's gonna go to 28,000, could drop to 9 like it did last time. Then we're in real trouble. But where do we go to get that? We're spending that money. That money, 91 million, will never go down. That 91 million's only got room to go up. How far up are these businesses and homeowners have to go to get us out of this mess? That's my concern. I stressed it from the day one of this plan. I'll stress it to the end, and like I said, I hope I'm wrong.
Moving on to OPEB, I mean, I think John mentioned it, you know, the town ended the year, the OPEB trust has $1,338,000 in it. And that is, again, one of the largest balances of an OPEB trust that our clients have, certainly. Most are continuing on a pay-as-you-go method, kicking that can down the road.
Is there a suggested balance that we should have in the OPEB?
Well, the NIHOP report actually gives us the full amount of what should be a pre-funded. It's not a recommended or it's not a required amount like the pension, because there's different standards for the pension than there is for OPEB. There's not as many restrictions on it. It's, at this point, it's kind of like an early warning that, look, this is your liability, this is what you should be putting in, do something about it. But there's nothing that's actually required like it is with the pension.
The liability is 54 million. That's what we're looking at. But remember when we started the negotiation process at the beginning of the 5-year plan, and a big piece of this was the retirees' health care. We had 29 different Blue Cross plans we were administering. Our liability at that time was about 150 million. So by 150, and by negotiating the changes to the plans now and into the future, and including higher co-shares and various other mechanisms that we included in this, putting a lot of the current employees over to HSAs, we were able to reduce that down into the 50s. So it made a huge impact, and now we are also funding the OPEB but not spending any of that. So that trust is just going to build up. So that's a very achievable goal for us to get that to a point where, as John was stating, we'll be able to eventually pay for retiree health benefits right out of that trust. But we're not going to touch it until it's built up to the point where it's the returns that are building it up and not us putting in all the time. So.
The standards for the pension, which changed 2 years ago, similar changes for OPEB will be 2 years from now. So that liability, that $54 million liability will be shown on your books and records. Right now it's only disclosed in footnotes. That will come on the books the same way the $127 million for the pension is on the books now. We're in the process now of finishing the single audit, the compliance audit of federal programs. We do have a couple of recommendations that we are made to management, really twofold. The internal control standards have really been revised over the past couple of years. There's a new expanded framework for internal control, which goes into much more detail on documentation of those controls, how those controls are communicated to users, and how the government monitors those controls internally, not relying on the audit for that. So we're making a recommendation to management to revise its documentation of all its internal controls, communicate those, and train everybody who needs to know about those, but then also develop a plan for doing assessments of those on a cyclical basis each year, some internal testing to monitor those controls. If any other findings come out of the single audit, there'll be additional findings. Right now we're not anticipating any, but those will be included in our final report by the end of March.
Any questions? Any public questions?
I might have a quick question.
Doug?
Just going back to page 5, and this is just in passing, I'm not holding anyone to it. I think I spoke to Fred about this, and maybe John, you guys had mentioned unreceived taxes of about $1 million. Is this the actual number, the 791?
Yes,
It is, okay.
correct. Because there is a 60-day period of time in July and August when any collections of prior year taxes can be accrued back or recorded into the previous fiscal year. So although they were collected in fiscal 17, we could accrue them back to 16,
Okay.
which changed that number.
Thank you.
And as far as the presentation that Jim went over tonight, this will be on the website tomorrow, on the town website, as well as the full audit. You all have bound copies that I handed out with this tonight, and that audit has been on the town website, and we will put this presentation on as well, because we look at this as pretty much a summary for someone that doesn't have the time to look through the entire document. At least this will give them some of the highlights. And all the other prior year reports are all there as well. And what we'll do is each year, as we do summaries like this, we will continue to put those on the websites as well.
John, just out of curiosity, I know last year we were getting probably on a quarterly or semi-annually basis delinquent tax reports.
Mhm.
I haven't received one in a little while.
Okay, I will work with Rose to get that back on. And what we're going to do is, as I mentioned in the last at the last meeting, my intent is to, at the second meeting of each month, give you an update, a financial update on how collections are running compared to the prior year, as well as some numbers of how we're doing with expenses and revenues. As you all know, the situation I currently have, where I'm going to be out for some time, I will need to delay that, but that is something that we will get back online once I'm
And
back.
we're currently working with Rossi Law
Correct.
and getting
Correct.
A little more aggressive than ever.
Absolutely.
Just recently, I know people who haven't heard or seen anything from the town have now heard or seen something from the town
Correct.
from 3 years ago, so.
We have a lot of confidence in Rossi and the work they're going to be doing, and we're also looking to possibly add additional years closer to the more current years, and we're obviously not going to give them the current year tax collections, because we don't need to pay that fee, but we're going to look into giving them additional years because of the results that they've yielded, because the sooner we collect that, then it could be applicable to, the actual year. Obviously, the longer the time that it goes, that they go delinquent, we can collect the interest, but I'd rather see us collect the taxes up front and avoid the
Death and taxes, John.
So
They gotta
but
pay it one way or the other.
We have much more confidence now in Rossi and what they're going to be able to do for
see
us.
a 0.6% difference in tax collection affects us by $700-something thousand, so.
But how much interest if we get it? So we ought to be
Oh, no. but-
glad. We're
I'm not saying
18.
that, but it's a little better on it's great that we collect the interest, but it's better on the report if we're level funded in the tax collection.
You know what they say, Dave? Worry about what's in your pocket. Now it's on paper.
And if there was one
Well,
thing.
you're worried about taxes.
Yeah, I am.
You wanna collect the interest on the taxes.
Well, I'm laughing because, and they were getting what, 18% till we got on. We knocked it down to 12. It's still highway robbery.
And one interesting thing about the collections, when you look at the collections for 3 years ago, look at what was billed then versus what's been collected to date, we're at like 99% of what was billed. It just took us a 2 or 3 year period to actually collect it. So we do collect it. There's not too many that we actually.
Of course you're gonna get
People
it.
get hardships, or at certain times of the year
Right.
they can't pay.
Right.
So I understand that. I mean,
But what ends up
I've
happening
been in that
is
situation.
it has an impact on the fiscal year when, because you can only have that, the 12 plus the 3 months to actually have it be counted for your financial statements. So that's why in the budget, once we go through it, you'll see there's a current year collection number and a prior year number. And that prior year number represents, obviously, the prior years. But that's where we hope to make up for, for the collections in the future years. But like I said, we have much more confidence in Rossi that they're going to really ramp up the collections for us and help us to collect these taxes quicker.
So John, after the 15-month period is up, and we end up collecting taxes from 2-3 years back,
Mhm.
where does that money actually go?
It
Because it can't be put back into the budget.
It goes into the general fund, but it goes into the prior year tax revenue. So it does show as revenue in that fiscal year, but it doesn't show in the current, it shows in the prior year. So if you look at when you see the budget, once we get into the workshops, you're gonna see we have a current year collections, and then we have a prior year, and then we have an interest. The current year is just what it is. It's that current year, what we anticipate the tax bills to be, and what we expect to collect within that 15-month period on those taxes, and then the prior year number would be what we expect to collect for the previous years. And the interest is just the interest on whether it's the
He must
prior
be on
year or
90.
the current year.
Okay.
So that'll be much more, I think once you see the budget, you'll see the difference between the two.
Okay, thank you.
And really, like I mentioned, the shortfall in tax revenue was really a timing difference. It's not like there wasn't a revenue source, it's never gonna come in again. It's, eventually those taxes are gonna come in, there's gonna be a tax sale or however it's gonna, so they will come in. It's just a timing, it's not there now to count as an asset, that's why it's not as a component of fund balance.
Any other questions? Stan?
Correct me if I'm wrong on this. Part of the 5-year plan, one of the key elements of that is being able to lock in the negotiations with the unions, which enabled the town manager, so you can lock in and we know what that's going to be for a 5-year period. Is that,
Yeah, we have legislative authority to negotiate 5-year contracts.
that's a big facet of what the town manager did, plus lock it in for 5 years. My next question is, will you be able to do, in this, once this is completed, will you be doing another 5-year plan? And you'll have to go through negotiations again.
The way we had the legislation drawn up and the way it was approved was that any community with a pension plan in critical status may negotiate 5-year agreements. So it's good for any community that's in a similar status, so we could do the same thing again if that's what we desire to do.
And that's where all the negotiations, because that's a key component, Plus you got you already talked about the variables that are there, and you got the health insurance that's changing, and how that's going to play out. So there's a lot of variables, and you're not going to know until you get to that point in time, and a lot's going to depend on the town manager and the unions and things like that to keep that at a stable situation.
As long as the voters vote for the financial budget, as long as they vote for it, because
I know it gets
changed
every year.
every year.
I understand that.
Yep.
Every year, but we do can project. But the key is being able to lock down some of these future expenses for a 5-year thing with agreements, so you can at least forecast a lot better with a little more accuracy. That's my take on that.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Minutes of previous meeting. Resolved that the minutes of the January 17, 2017 and January 31st, 2017 executive session and town council meetings are hereby accepted.
I'll move the resolution.
I'll second.
Moved and second, any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consent agenda license applications. Resolved that the consent agenda having been posted, all matters being referred to proper departments and being disposed or waiting recommendations, same as hereby approved.
Move the resolution.
I'll second the resolution.
Moved and second, discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Those licenses that were just approved were Baxter Intuitive Solutions, Speedcraft Nissan, Speedcraft LLC, Diane's
Yeah,
Unisex
sold.
Styling, Security Lock and Door, Sound Effects, Snippers Hair Salon, Big John's Pawn Shop, Speedcraft Nissan, Speedcraft Acura, St. John and James Parish, and they've all been approved.
Consent agenda correspondence. Resolved that the consent agenda having been posted, all matters being referred to the proper departments, being disposed or waiting recommendation, the same as hereby approved.
Move the resolution.
Second the resolution.
Moved and second, discussion?
This is the Burrowville.
Just to give you guys a heads up, the letter from Barterville, I know everybody got an email on it. It was supposed to be on tonight's agenda, but it's gonna be on next week's agenda. I spoke to Mike. He'll be here next week to talk about that. It's just looking for us, West Warwick, to join in the rest of the cities and towns, 31 cities and towns that are adopting the opposition for Clear River Energy Center power plant in Barterville. Right now, there's 31 cities and towns, so he'd like to come and present it to us and see if we would
Yeah, he
follow
called.
along.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that anyone should have a say what is going on in their community. They know what's best for their community, and I mean, I just don't
Well,
understand how you would
Waterville-
support it.
Waterville didn't want it, and Johnson sold them the water, so.
I don't know. That's like, West Warwick, we know what's best for our constituents, and we vote no on something, and the rest of the state comes out and says, oh, no, they need that over there.
All right, so
I guess.
that'll be on the next agenda for discussion and action. March 7th.
Discussion, action?
No, on the agenda with the resolution.
Okay. Additions and cancellation of taxes. Resolve that the attached additions in the amount of $1,941.10.
March 7th. Say it again, Paul, I'm sorry.
Resolve that the attached additions in the amount of $1,941.10, cancellations in the amount of $4,368.33 presented to the tax assessor for approval of the town council in accordance with Article 25, Section 5 of the West Warwick Code of Ordinance is hereby approved.
I'll move the resolution.
Second the resolution.
Moving second, any discussion?
Is this the one, I got one question, I don't, is this the one with the Blood Center of America? No? That this addition and cancellations of taxes?
There's one for tax collector too.
Yeah, this is tax assessor. We on collector?
No,
No,
that's
we're on
next.
assessment.
Assessor. There's one,
Well, we'll
I
get
just,
This
That's
is
on the next
one.
oh,
So we'll talk
All
about
right.
it.
So is this one approved? You guys ain't approved.
I don't know, to take a vote.
Any other discussion on this one? Christine, you all set on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. You guys drink a Red Bull tonight?
Why?
I can't hear any of you.
Sleep.
Cancellation of taxes. Resolve that the attached cancellation of taxes in the amount of $3,882.62 in accordance with Title 44-7-14 as authorized by the tax collector of the town of West Warwick and presented for the approval of the town council is hereby approved.
I'll move the resolution.
Second the resolution.
Moving second, discussion?
Yeah, that's the one. Christine? It says,
That's Rose.
oh, Rose, I'm sorry.
Board decision.
It says that the Blood Centers of America on 1300 Division Road was a board decision for 2600. That's what I'm saying. Board? Christine?
Dave said it was Rose. Do we have to do a motion to go back?
Hi, good evening. That is a tax board of review decision.
Why,
They appealed their value, and so it was,
but wasn't the value the same as it's been every other year?
no.
It was,
We just went through the revaluation. So this was the 2016 bill, and so this is the
oh, all right, my
Board of
mistake.
Assessment and Review, their decision.
All right, I was just wondering, because they were here, and I'm saying now, this year, it's 2636 lower. So,
That
it was because we evaluated them.
Right,
Okay,
yep, that was the decision.
that's the only question I had there.
Okay.
I appreciate it, thank you.
Do I gotta read tax collector again?
No,
No.
we're on tax collection now.
So is this approved?
No, not yet. Any other discussion on tax collection?
Boy, you're in a hurry tonight, huh, Paul?
I'm
Huh?
tired.
Dave, she's trying to rush us right out of here, I don't blame you.
I clicked on the wrong one. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
We're gonna do a motion to read this.
Oh, no, you're reading.
Oh, come on. Resolution authorizing the town manager to perform duties of the town treasurer and director of finance.
I'll move the resolution.
Second the resolution.
Discussion.
When we were, in light of the situation where I'm going to be out for some period of time, we did take a look at the charter to see, in the event that something needs to be signed from a financing point of view, not talking checks, but from a financing standpoint, we do currently have the bond anticipation notes out for the wind turbines. So should an opportunity arise where it's something that we want that the town wants to act on quickly, and I'm not available to sign as the finance director or the treasurer, as the charter says. I spoke with Karen Grandy from Lock Lord, and she suggested that we have a resolution in place like this, so that in the event that I can't sign, Fred would be able to sign. Although he's the higher authority that I am, there are certain documents that call for the finance director or the treasurer. We did not put specific names in because this is something that we would always have in place should an opportunity ever arise. So again, it's just, just make sure that
We
things
had that in
continue.
place when Malcolm left and Jim Thomas was here,
No,
didn't
we
we?
appointed a person. We put a name in.
Did we?
You were specific versus leaving it open for, but you didn't do it by position.
Oh, I thought we did. I thought we did it by position.
No, we did it like, for instance, who was the guy, Don King?
Don Gray.
Don Gay,
Greg.
Don King.
Leave that one.
Brian, Don,
King.
there's quite a few.
I'm going all over the place here. Don Gray, we had to appoint him into that at the time, so we selected him directly.
So this isn't so much an appointment as it just in the absence of, if I'm not available to sign at any point, or any finance director, that the town manager could sign and bind the documents accordingly. So again, we just thought it would be best to have it in place, not just for now, but in the future, should anything happen with any other finance director or whatnot. So that's what it is. Okay.
And, John, I won't put you on the spot here, but, and everybody's just looking at me like, what's going on out there? And, John's going in for surgery on Thursday, and hopefully he has a speedy recovery, but he will be out for a few weeks at least. If everything goes smooth, he's hoping to be back in 6 to 8 weeks, and that's why this is all going forward today. So, and John, thoughts and prayers, and
Thank you.
everything's with
Appreciate
you.
it. I appreciate the
wish you the
support that
best of luck.
everybody, that the council as well as, the directors and, the people that are within the finance department. So very thankful for, for all the support. And
Prayers and thoughts
for,
from all of us.
for lack of a better way of saying, I'm looking forward to getting better and coming back because, I know there's a lot of work to do, especially with the budget. And, as I've said to Fred and, a couple of the council members during the budget workshops or the public hearings, as long as my doctor says I'm able to do whatever I can do, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions and be available.
And
I
you
wish
have
the
a-
timing was better so that I could, especially for the new council members, to help them through the, through the process. But, once I'm out of the hospital and feeling well, I'll try to do my best to answer any questions you guys do have. But, they did suggest that I take the time to,
You better listen, John.
Take the
I will,
time
I will.
and relax.
Take
Thank
care
you.
of yourself,
Appreciate
John.
it.
Yeah.
I
The
appreciate
town
it.
will be here, John.
Oh, that's right.
Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
And if you need anything, you know my number. I drive by your road twice a day.
Okay. Does that mean you're gonna drop work off to me? No, just
I
kidding.
will not drop work off to you.
I'm joking. Thank you, though.
I'll drop you off a 6-pack if you need it, though.
Thank you.
He wouldn't say a case, you noticed that, right?
I know what he drinks. He doesn't want us to take a case of that.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
probably
whatever.
does.
Alrighty. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
A resolution memorializing the General Assembly to enact legislation authorizing the Town Council of West Warwick to exempt from taxation map 5, lot 620, to be used by the Arctic Playhouse.
I'm gonna let Fred take this. I'm also gonna
I'll move the resolution.
I'm gonna recuse myself as well because I promote them with my business, so I'm gonna recuse myself.
I'll second the resolution.
Moved and seconded, so this is not sponsored by Councilman Massey.
We had spoken about it, but in between
didn't
that
realize
time,
that, okay.
yeah, in between that time, I realized.
Okay. So in a nutshell, as you all know, the Arctic Playhouse purchased the old Mastros building. They're in the process of renovating that. They just received a $300,000 grant from the Rhode Island State Council on the Arts. They've requested that as a 501c3, an important component of the downtown revitalization that we, the council, consider authorizing them to be, that location be tax exempt to enable them to better meet the demands of what they're going to have to spend to get this up and running. So,
Do we have a dollar amount roughly? What the taxes are on that building?
My only concern with this is I understand it's a great thing in the town. What about other businesses that are gonna say, what makes them more,
Well,
it's the 503.
It's a 501c3. They're tax exempt organization, so they're not for profit.
We're making, exactly, but we're making an exception because they wouldn't be here asking us for it.
No, well,
And I'm all for it, but you know what I'm talking, we have
Yeah.
another instance that's going on in my ward.
You
And
came in
I'm
with an
not-
application today, man.
Yeah, and, you know, I'm not for that, I'm not for that 100%, I'm not for that one.
We've done it before with,
Well, I was gonna
last
talk
year we
about-
did it
I was
with
gonna
Tides
talk about that later on.
Family Services. Last year we did it with Tides Family Services. So it's been done in the past, and that's what this
You're just
is,
gonna
the
be
request is
careful that
based on.
it runs only as long as the theater's there.
That's what I'm saying.
Correct.
And if there's a change of use, that the tax exemption goes away, because you don't want this tax exemption running with the property.
But now, how much is that building getting taxed now?
We'll have to check it and pull it up. I don't- Okay.
Why don't we move on? And we'll come back to it. Unless, we'll see how long it's gonna
It should take a
This would still require to come back to the council. So the way this works, you pass this resolution authorizing the General Assembly. The General Assembly will consider it. They have a hearing, and then it comes back here. If the General Assembly authorizes the council to do that, then you have to actually
Second resolution.
do a second resolution. So
All right, so, I mean, we could move on with this, but I also wanna make sure the council wants to move on with that. I don't wanna
Yep.
waste the legislation time and energy.
So is it gonna table this?
no, hold on.
Should be here in a minute, she just put it, she is.
Yes.
Yeah,
For the 2016 bill, the taxes were $8,582.03. The valuation on that was $272,100.
and obviously with
Thank you.
renovations, that's gonna actually,
They're talking about $1 million in renovations, which is why, as a nonprofit organization, to maintain, the taxes on and the increased valuation on that's going to be a struggle. So that's why they're here.
how about we freeze the taxes? I prefer to do that.
Like I said, they're asking for tax exempt status as a nonprofit, but it's that's I haven't had
See,
the
this-
conversation with them otherwise.
We're having a
but-
problem again, you're on a 5-year plan, and this is one of many things that we shouldn't be touching anything. We shouldn't be adding anything, we shouldn't be subtracting anything. And we're gonna, and believe me, I'm all for that the Playhouse is great for that vicinity, right where it is. It's a great thing for the community, it's an asset to our town. But again, we're on a plan, everybody's for the 5-year plan, and we're giving 8,000 here, 20,000 there, another 110 there, 55,000 there. My opinion, one person,
I'm
that's
just-
all,
I'm presenting it as it's been
no, I
requested.
understand, and
I mean,
it is a great, for a great cause,
Yeah.
but in other words, there's another 8,000
Well,
we're losing.
no, but I would say beyond just being a great cause, though,
I mean, a great,
the Playhouse,
asset to this town.
the Playhouse will absolutely drive up property values for the rest of Arctic. Once that project is complete, you're going to see the property values all around that building go up, and we'll see the benefit of that. So I think you have to look at it a little bit differently than a typical nonprofit where it's simply giving the money away. They're actually creating a true asset that will drive values up. It's been proven, it's been shown in other communities where this has been done, and it's also common for other communities to exempt these types of facilities. But
I just want to add, I understand where Councilman Padula is coming from. We don't want to be foolish and just give up, tax revenue. But at the same time, I would agree that this is going to be a cultural center for Arctic. And if we're really going to revitalize Arctic, this is going to be one of the major draws. So I see this as an investment that's going to bring long-term revenue back into the town. So I would be for this.
Does this set a precedent, though?
well,
That's my only concern.
we have done it in the past. We did it for Tides, we did it for somebody else too.
I think Child Inc. and, we own that one still.
Thunder Mist.
Thunder Mist.
You would set, the precedent's only set if you have a similar set of circumstances. You have to have the 501c3, if a nonprofit status, but it's something more than a for-profit business. It's something that's going to, I don't want to term it under the arts, but to be
Right,
something
right.
along those lines. So it doesn't set a precedent for every type of business that comes in to say, you gave them a tax break, I want the same thing. Now,
That would be
don't
my
get me
only
wrong.
fear.
Any private enterprise can go to the town manager and then make a proposal to this town council, asking for tax relief. You guys can,
tax treaty,
Right.
you guys can judge it at that time, but right now, this would be just something particular for Arctic, particular for the Playhouse. But again, my only concern is that it runs only for as long as it's a Playhouse,
Absolutely.
not make it run with the property.
I feel that we should try to help them, because there is, a large number involved. I think, what do they need, about $1.5 million, and they've about 600,000 at this point. This is gonna bring business to even the surrounding businesses, the restaurants and that are already existing at this point, so.
That's what we did, we also did it for the station memorial site.
Correct, yes.
There's no taxes on that site.
But this will absolutely generate economic activity. There's no question.
Any other discussion? Any public discussion? Nicole, bring it up to the mic, and Stan, come up to the mic.
You also have another credit card if the council, if the general assembly approves it, it comes back to you guys to re-ratify.
Speaking for the agency for the redevelopment of Arctic, as Fred has already indicated, this is going to be a revenue driver, and it's like the focal point of what we're trying to do. This is going to be the kingpin, and this is what we've always talked about in the planning, is having a destination, a reason to come here. Plus, not only that, it brings in evening traffic. And those of us who were at Centerville Bank just a little while ago, they're going to be open for the evening and doing business. So that's going to open up the town a little bit more. So there are things happening, and this is so critical on the success of what we're trying to do. And as you indicated, it's an investment, and that will be turned over more than whatever that $8,000 will be tripled very quickly.
Can I hold you to that?
Yes. You got
It's on tape.
Yeah, everything's
It's on tape.
I guess I'm also here, just Mark's probably cringing that I'm up here. I am a theater.
Mark, we have that
Yeah.
same feeling.
He's
too,
always
don't
like,
worry.
sit down, shut up. I am a big theater goer. From, all the way in Warren, Theater by the Sea, Brown, URI. It is such a gem. Have you been, Angelo?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so you need to get in
Every time
there.
I've been invited, I have other things.
You don't
do,
need to
but
be
I want
invited.
to
It's
go.
every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Angelo. You've got to get in there. We have such a gem of talent, and to have this available in our own little town, and the fact that they do what they do in this stage that's tinier than what you're sitting at now is incredible. And the traffic that's going down there, along with Boneheads, but that's all we've got right now. You've got to see a vision, and it's unfortunate that I hope you see growth coming, and you should be envisioning more growth coming. We have nothing but a hole filled with dead Christmas trees in those windows right now. And to have a theater that will bring in business, people will be able to rent. You're talking about, we just lost Evelyn's, we've lost Nino's, we've lost Villa. We lost a lot of venues
You know
here.
what the cause of that is, Nicole? You want me to tell you?
Taxes,
Huh?
I don't know,
Exactly.
or bad investment
The
also.
cost
I
of
don't know,
doing business.
that's their thing.
They can't compete.
But you have an opportunity for something to bring in the theater, bring in the culture, to try to get that Wickford frame of mind, that East Greenwich frame of mind, that, Garden City, start making it beautiful here again in West Warwick. I really think it would totally be an investment, and just to help other business see some vision, and instead of looking at empty store windows that have been like that for the past 15 years. It's sad. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other comment? Hearing none, all in favor? I'm gonna take a roll call vote. Angelo?
You know, I'm gonna vote yes, but with the 5-year plan, that's gonna bite us, but, and, you know, I don't want, Nicole, I don't want you to think I'm against. I've been to New York, I've been to Boston, I've been, matter of fact, to Miami, I went to a nice play. A friend of mine owns a club, it was beautiful, so, you know, I do know what the arts mean to the community. But I also know, what the money means. Money first. I'll vote yes against my wishes with the 5-year plan.
Jason?
I vote yes. I'm for the Arctic Playhouse.
John?
I vote yes.
Jay? Oh, you recused yourself, and I'll vote yes.
Bid award, C-Click-Fix. Resolved that the town council hereby approves the bid award for the Citizens Relationship Management System to C-Click-Fix.
I'll move the resolution.
A second.
Moving second, discussion? Jay?
When we discussed it last time, Fred, you can take this one.
Yeah, so we went out to bid. We had 4 total submissions on this for citizen request management services. Of the 4, 3 were very close in price and capability. We reviewed those 3. It was myself, it was my assistant Libby, and initially Ed Giroux also reviewed all 3 proposals, and then when Ed moved on, Jay volunteered to step in, and he also reviewed the proposals. Based upon our review, and really a question of functionality and also examples of local uses of the software product.
There are I think two other ones in Rhode Island, Cumberland and Newport.
And Newport both
And they're also the most locally based of the companies, based out of New Haven, correct?
Yeah, they're just in New Haven, so it's very close. They can physically be here if we ever have an issue. And also in terms of the way that they work the setup, it's very customizable. And if you've had a chance to look at the apps for Cumberland or Newport, if you haven't, you should. You can go up on the App Store, but you can see how they're very different, and it's a look and feel that the community wants, and we'll be able to do the same thing. So based on that, we're recommending C-Click-Fix. They also were able to provide us with a prorated amount for this fiscal year in order that we can get the ball rolling and get things moving, so we don't have to wait till July to start the process. So they gave us a prorated contract amount, and then followed by the full year, which you'll see in the budget document that will be presented to you. Actually, you've already seen it, but it'll be spelled out when we go through the budget workshops.
And also, I know when we had the conference call last week, we discussed things can be changed functionally as it's going on. If something's going on in there that we don't like the way it's going, we don't like who it's being fed to, we can change it as it goes along.
Yeah, and it can be seasonal too. So wintertime we can have the snowplow issue.
Snowplow, Freddie's gonna love that.
But in the summer that can be grass.
But it's going to be beneficial because honestly, it will eliminate some of the random Facebook complaints, and they'll at least be funneled to like somewhere where it's a little more beneficial than a random post where people just complain.
Yeah, and talking with the folks over in Newport, their DPW people actually appreciate it, and they like it because they don't get as much of the anonymous moaning that goes on social media. It's more direct response. So if someone puts a complaint in on their phone, they're going to immediately get an email saying, Freddie Gill's on the job. All right, so
and we can also turn off specific. Let's say it's a snowstorm and we only want to have snowstorms, or if it's too much coming in, we can turn anything on or off at any particular time. Well, I think I mentioned this last time. It's going to be beneficial to the bike path in particular, about figuring out where, if there are problems on the bike path, drug needles, graffiti, things like that. Obviously, it's not used for emergency purposes.
Right.
If there's a murder or, don't take a picture and post it on C-Click-Fix, please. Thank you.
That shit happens.
So,
any other questions?
I think I got elected, yeah.
Any other questions? Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Ordinance number 2017-2, second reading, an ordinance amending section 8-12 of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick.
I'll move the ordinance.
Moved and seconded. Discussion?
Wanna
This is just the pickup hours for the trash? Is that what it, at 6 a.m.?
Yeah.
Police curbside at 6 a.m.
Yeah, this was just combined because it said two different things, remember?
Yeah. Any other discussion? Any public discussion? Roll call vote. Angela?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Ordinance number 2017-3, second reading, an ordinance amending sections 3 and 5 of the West Warwick zoning code of the Code of Ordinances of the town of West Warwick.
I'll move the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Any public discussion? This is second reading. Hearing none. Roll call vote. Angela?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Ordinance number 2017-4, second reading, an ordinance amending sections 3, 5.3, 5.20, and 17.5.2 relating to medical marijuana of the West Warwick zoning code of the Code of Ordinances of the town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance.
I'll second.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
I'd just like to make a comment. We have been meeting, we've had a lot of activity around, especially with the cultivator licenses, and we've had the discussions here at the council. But we've had a lot of requests from people looking to start these facilities in various parts of town. Obviously, this ordinance is to address, or these ordinances are to address where that can take place. But I know that there have been discussions about various locations which might not fall within the zones of these, but just keep in mind that we'll be able to go back and make amendments if the council sees fit later on, but it's important that we get these in place. I know, Angela, I think some people have been reaching out to you, and they've reached out to us with respect to the part of the old West Valley Inn property that wouldn't be allowed under this current ordinance. But if it's something that at a later date the council wants to consider, we can revisit that. But it's something that, just know that we're getting a lot of activity around this issue and around these. And so we've been having numerous meetings with applicants, and we tell them all that, you know, this ordinance is going to make it so some can move forward, but it's also going to make it so others cannot, unless you readdress it. But it's something that, you know, we are in conversations with people about, but it's complicated, but we have to get something in the books so something can move forward. So.
And get them stopped in the neighborhoods.
Right.
That's the main thing.
Exactly.
And the people in the residential areas, in the neighborhoods, I just can't see how that happened.
How many applicants are you getting? 2, 4?
We get about 3 to 10 per week.
It's big business.
People coming in.
That's
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Yeah, it's taken a lot of time.
It's very lucrative.
One of the suggestions made today that the council might want to consider is having a workshop
Yeah.
as it relates to this industry and taking a look at how it affects the town, not only in
And by-
industrial areas, but business
Yeah.
areas, commercial areas, and obviously any impact on.
And
That would be a good idea.
And I think by doing this too, we're gonna cut down a lot of when I say applicants, we have inquiries. People come in saying, I want to do this, I want to do it in this location, and it takes a lot of time to go through and sit down with them. Most of the times, based upon where this ordinance is going, we tell them you're not going to be allowed to do it in this area, but we get that many easily.
To Angela's point, there's nothing in here about in residential areas, correct? It's the,
No, it
the
says-
opposite.
Yeah, this
Correct.
is why we got this, because
It's the opposite.
it's because they have them already in the residential areas, and the people never even knew they were there.
No, but
That's what's scary.
this doesn't address that.
Yeah,
It does. It says
Oh,
that-
because we know where they all are.
yeah, we're gonna put them in the CI zones.
No, it's the opposite of that.
no,
No.
cultivators will be only in the city.
That's
Cultivators will
it.
be in the CI.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
So there'd be two, you have, now there's the cultivators and.
We'll be in the CI zones and not in the, okay. I stand corrected.
That's what we want. That's what we want. We want to have control where they are.
I thought when we,
Cultivators are more for, more business oriented.
when we had spoke before, I thought it was gonna be the reverse, or maybe I just misunderstood
No,
it.
there were a few instances where you had current facilities
That are
And they
in
were
CI.
grandfathered.
and they're grandfathered, and that's by law. We can't.
Those 3 we're talking about.
Yes, correct, right. Yeah. Thanks.
Any other discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Angelo?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Ordinance number 2017-5, second reading, an ordinance amending Chapter 9C Medical Marijuana Growing Facilities of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Fred, anything? Any public comment? Hearing none, roll call vote. Jason?
Yes.
Angelo?
Yep.
Jay?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Who ever thought as a councilman to be worried about marijuana and everything? Trash. What trash?
All that trash, with all that trash
That all-
talk, he needs some.
Hey,
some
that
people probably
marijuana
need some
all
of that.
started at the State House.
I know.
One representative.
What are you looking at me for?
I'm just saying, you were up there at the time.
Don't bring us money. Taxes.
They had a future, a vision.
Next.
They put people in jail for a joint, and now they want to grow tons of it.
All right, let's go.
Ordinance
Don't get me
number-
going.
Okay, Ordinance number 2017-6, second reading, an ordinance amending Appendix C, traffic ordinance of the Code of Ordinance of the Town of West Warwick.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? This is, no parking to west side of Epworth Ave. So this is Jay, this is your area, right?
This is, yeah, it's Amanda Sawyer's. This is right in front of her house. Sorry, I just gave away her address. Sorry, she's the one that brought it to us. I apologize.
Excuse me.
Okay, any other comment? Any public comment? Roll call vote. Angela?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Ordinance number 2017-9, first reading, an ordinance amending Article 4 of the West Warwick Pension Plan, excluding police and fire, and Article 32.4 of the collective bargaining agreement between the Town of West Warwick, Rhode Island Council 94, Aspen Local 2045, effective July 1st of 14 to June 30th of 19.
I'll move the ordinance for discussion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion?
So this is that, we had a meeting, a couple of meetings on this in executive session. This was the agreement that we met. There were a handful of employees that were not able to, they didn't realize the impact, I guess, and it wasn't discussed with them in terms of the impact of the changes that we made. And they had plans for retirement at a certain point. It was discussed, and there was an agreement made between the town and the union, an exchange made that allowed these individuals to go back and retire now at this point, not go back to the beginning, but from this point forward. And in exchange, there was this position taken out of the HR department, which was the agreement. So everything has been already sanctioned by the courts. So because this was done by consent order, Judge Taft Carter, that had to be brought back to her for amendment, and that has been completed. So this is the last step in that process.
Any other discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none. Roll call vote. Angela?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Discussion, action, code red notification, Eagle Scout, sponsored by Councilman Messier.
I'm gonna let Devin take this one. He has
Come on up, Devin.
he has an Eagle Scout project. He's trying to increase the enrollment of our code red notification. This is where the town you get the emergency notifications, parking bans, maybe a prisoner escaped, maybe like a bad storm, something that happens.
My name is Devin Knott, and I'm a Boy Scout from Troop 1 Arctic, and thank you for giving me the time to speak to you tonight. So for my Eagle Scout project, I basically wanted to bring attention and increase enrollment in West Warwick's Code Red notification system. And what this system does is, like Councilman Messier said, it sends people instant notifications about any emergency situations such as parking bans, an escaped prisoner, road closures, things of that nature. So I basically wanted to increase the enrollment because West Warwick has a population of about 29,000, and excluding children, there are still not many people enrolled. So by doing this, or how I went about doing this was I contacted Councilman Messier, and he assisted me in getting, like, publicizing it. So he assisted me with posting things on social media. We made a live Facebook video. I went to the senior center in West Warwick, spoke to them there. I got in contact with the school superintendent and got permission to contact the principals of schools so they can bring attention to it. And I also got in contact with all the religious organizations of West Warwick so they could also post things about it in their bulletin. So my project simply involves increasing the enrollment in the Code Red notification system. And
I think as we spoke to, a lot of people still have it linked to their home phones, which a lot of us don't even use our home phones. So I think it's for people to update it because it comes from the original one comes from the 911 list, correct?
yes, so the Code Red notification system is a database that contained the landlines of all the houses in West Warwick. However, many people say that they do not get the phone calls to their homes, and even if they do, it would still be helpful if they got it to their cell phones or an email. And the people that believe that it's a nuisance to get the phone calls, I wanted to let them know that there is a way that they can get it through text and emails, and it's incredibly simple to sign up and enroll, so that's what I wanted to bring to the public's attention.
Takes about 2 minutes. Took me 2 minutes online to go sign up. If anybody here hasn't done it, I think you probably have some forms here tonight, right?
Yep, you can go to westwarwick.ri.org, click the Code Red notification icon, and fill out the information, which takes about 2 minutes. Or I have hard copies that take a second to fill out, and it's incredibly simple.
It's awesome. You did a great job.
project.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Earth Day cleanup, sponsored by Councilman Messier.
So every year, I'm going to call up Barbara Tabak here. Every year, the Arctic Village Association, Barbara Tabak is responsible for organizing the cleanup throughout Arctic. This year, in discussing with Barbara, we decided it would be a great idea for us to extend that out to different areas of the town. So we're looking to possibly get some help from the other council members. Maybe if Angelo knows some areas in Natick that he thinks we need to galvanize and clean. Same thing with Ward 4. John's ward probably doesn't have as many parks or particular areas of that nature. I know Dave, of course, Phoenix Square I thought of immediately. I'll let Barbara discuss what you do in previous years and how you organize it.
Exactly. Well, it's been quite a few years that I've been talking about this with the other people that I worked with, Jack Lancelota and Friends of the Greenway, who have since retired. This is going to be their first year in retirement with it. But anyway, thinking that it shouldn't just be Arctic, it should be each village. And how do you go about that? And so talking about it, we would stay intact and do exactly what we do. That wouldn't change. If we could get interest level in each village, someone to chair a group, we can meet with them and tell them how we go about things, and they would make their own decisions as to what they do. The one common thing that we would have going on would be we have a dumpster delivered in here at Centerville Bank by Dave, and the other villages would have to find someone with a pickup truck that would be willing to pick up the bags and bring them to Arctic and put them in the dumpster, and that would eliminate the trash all over the place.
We could even coordinate something with Dave where they could go pick up the bags with the truck or something instead of picking them up twice. You pick them up once
and we purposely planned it in the past years. It's always conflicted with baseball opening day, so we picked a date of it's April 15th.
Calm down.
I hate to tell you, but they may have changed baseball the same like you did. I'm not kidding.
Well, if that's they can't do that.
So is it the 22nd or the 15th?
Well, 15th is the day that we set, but the original opening day of baseball was going to be the 22nd.
Of what, April?
Yes, of April and August.
Yeah,
And I know typically the baseball does their own cleanup effort usually the weekend before, so I thought it would be the perfect timing. If they're doing their own cleanup, it'd be easier to galvanize volunteers. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be the councilman in that ward, but if you know somebody in the area, even if I'll put it out on social media, people want to come and, lead a group of people,
The second part of that Jay and I discussed was, we could discuss it tonight, and then he would put it on social media, we would get it out there, advertise the idea that we wanna do this, and have an open meeting for the public at, like, the senior center, and see how many people actually.
Yeah,
turn
come up
out.
with some kind of a game plan.
What I was saying with baseball, opening day is the 22nd.
Correct.
But field cleanup day
We know
is
that.
the same day as.
No,
Mud Day.
no, we realize that, and I think that would
The
actually,
15th.
yeah, but that would be a
Easter
good,
egg hunt.
I think
We
that
have
would,
the egg hunt on the 15th.
the egg hunt is on the
Yeah,
15th?
the 15th,
So it's kind of.
at the field house.
Yeah, it's always
You're gonna have to
number
do it
one
with
thing.
the lights.
Well, we can go over the dates then, but we tried to find a day that was not conflicting.
With
That'll never happen.
work. So, that was the general plan.
What time is the egg hunt?
I booked the Civic Center from, say 9 to about 11:30 or so.
We can discuss the date then, I suppose, but
Have the same date, have it after that, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, nobody's gonna wanna get up early on a weekend anyway.
like Barbara's up at like probably 5 in the morning that day,
already
ready for
started.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
She's
They
ready.
started, yeah.
It's like it's like Christmas morning
We
for
start in
Barbara.
the morning. I'll tell you what we do, yes. We started at 8 o'clock, we meet down at the American Legion, Dunkin' Donuts and coffee and so forth. We in Arctic supply T-shirts, for the day, Earth Day. Organizations, the JC's, John J. Clark Insurance, we donate the money and buy these T-shirts. Designate areas where groups go, and follow up. We have senior center lets us have a bus so that we bring people to the bike path, like away from Arctic and that sort of thing. And then everybody meets when it's done. Everybody goes back to the American Legion and we have a cookout. So that's how we do it. But that would mean that each village would have to, put all of that kind of thing together. That took a few years of work in progress to make all that happen. But we certainly could help anybody that would be interested. But I think that Jay's idea of having a public meeting after we advertise it a little bit, this is what we want to do. Because I've seen it on Facebook in the past where people say, well, Pulaski Street, I'm not picking up Pulaski Street, but there was somebody on Pulaski Street that wanted to clean. Was anybody else interested?
I think a lot of people
Kind
want to
of
help.
stuff.
They just need someone to
Need
lead them.
direction.
Yeah,
Need direction.
So,
especially the bike path. I mean,
the bike path, no matter what.
because we usually do the circle, so we're really only going from like Jerry's to like almost the manor, maybe about. So there's the whole rest of the bike path that
We
doesn't.
thought about that, like what would Natick do, really? You know what I mean? What do you
Well,
have
I
to-
usually, when we had Troop 2, we always got the Boy Scouts and we did the parks, we did Pastore Field.
That's a reason.
We got Providence Street for them to go,
The
which
bike
was
path
really
area behind,
crazy.
behind.
Always,
We
yeah.
did Natick Village around there, and we always got like donuts. The kids always like donuts,
Yeah.
but now we lost Troop 2, and we have 31, and Arctic has 2,
Yeah,
but
Yeah,
I mean,
cool.
we
It's
don't have that honor
Horgan-
of
it's Horgan
having
you?
Troop 2 and Natick anymore.
yeah. But, I mean, I think that, we'll see. We'll see if we get a response that's good enough to,
We'll- like I
maybe
said,
a
we'll-
couple of villages will start and, we'll eventually
Oh,
get
there'd be a
everybody.
lot of, matter of fact, Jay, when I first met you, you got involved with the cleanup when the Boy Scouts were stopped, and you
Yeah.
did the Natick Fields, and
Yes.
you got that going.
And we thought the same thing. Crompton has the playground. They have Maisie Glen. There's ball
Yeah, there's
box
quite a
in
few.
Manchester.
Yeah, especially in we
know,
definitely like
so-
the Crompton
And it
playground.
all
Yeah.
A lot of dirt, a lot of
fails.
dirty
It's a bike
areas.
path,
There's plenty of especially the bike. I mean, the bike path particularly people think about because it's kind of hidden back there and they don't
Just
notice.
take your eggs, put them in Crompton, have them pick up eggs.
Oh, the more.
A town-wide Easter egg hunt.
Tell me why, eggs and trash, all at once.
Might as well have bacon.
So that's what we're planning, and hopefully, we'll get a response and be able to broaden it a little bit.
I'm just a little, in the Phoenix section, a lot of those businesses open up at that time, so those businesses aren't gonna be, I know they will not, like Phoenix Square Diner, that's their busy time, they're not gonna be able to come out and help us. I know they wanna get involved, even the antique shops and everything else, when they open up on a Saturday morning, that's their busiest time is the weekend, because people come from out of town or whatever and try to go to these. So
I mean, I'll reach out to the area and see if other people wanna help.
You-
also.
but you could-
That would be the thing, because Arctic is open, you know.
But you could
she's
easily,
in
but you
a-
could easily do yours, you know, if you do your Phoenix area, you could obviously say you're gonna do yours at 2 in the afternoon, and maybe you get some people that have already helped in Auric and decide, well, I wanna go help some more in Phoenix. So it doesn't all have to go at the same exact time.
Barbara, how many people do you
Yeah, I don't
usually
like
get
shutting it off.
for your area?
I thought I had the volume down.
The number changes.
There was a lot last year.
There was a lot last
Probably, I would
year.
guess 150 people maybe last year. You had a lot. Yeah.
That's quite a bit.
And the weather was not, yeah, it was bad. We also set up a rain date as well this year, because last year we didn't have one and we went out there. It wasn't pouring, but still nobody wants to pick up wet nips.
Yes.
That's the hot collection item. There's a lot of those.
So we appreciate any support that you can give us, and you'll see at a further date that we'll have a meeting, public meeting at the senior center and see what happens.
Thank you, Bob.
Thanks.
Town managers report?
Not much tonight. I just want to mention that those of you who haven't been by, because of the nice weather we've been having in the last few weeks here, the Crompton Fishing Pier project has been accelerated. We're going to have to wait till after the winter to get the site work being done on that. They've had a full week and a half now out there doing site work, so probably going to be wrapping that up in the next week or so. All the major site work, and then it's just a matter of the sodding and final touches when spring finally does get here. So we should be on an early spring schedule as opposed to a late spring, based on the nice weather we've been having. So it's good that those of you that have not been out there, the pier looks great, and the site's coming along now too. That it's nice and cleared and graded out, and it's really coming along. So that's all I have.
On the town manager's report, we discussed about Wakefield Street and River Street. Anything with that, Tim? Did we see what kind of bite we could put into this ordinance with them, what they did to the streets with the PUC? Did you reach out?
Well, what I was told was nothing more than a runaround. Best way I can suggest handling it is we send them an official letter, council signs it, asking for an investigation and or inquiry into what's going on, asking them specifically what authorities that they're working under that basically absolves them of any liability or any problems whatsoever. That's my suggestion, because
No, I know.
the phone call I made and the response I got was nebulous, to say the same.
And what we should have on the agenda, Dave, for next meeting is after August, there's no more construction done in the town of West Warwick, no more streets. Because you got 90 days, they'll have them all filled in by November. This way here, this can never happen again. Why not?
I don't know, we'd have to check into a moratorium on any construction, with the definition of construction being any work done on a road.
We got a lot of our roads done after August last year.
Yeah, but they were all done too.
No, I know.
We made
but I'm
sure
just
they were
saying,
done.
But we have to be careful about setting a moratorium,
Why
because that would impact us too.
If it's
So
gonna
we
be a
have
moratorium
to.
on construction, you might wanna be careful in how you define construction.
Well, I mean, construction is when they're doing major construction like water lines, gas
If
lines.
roads cannot be repaired within 90 days.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
All I'm saying is that you're talking subterranean, terrain, or anything above. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, that's something we can put together. I mean, that's something
I would just
we ought to do sooner than later.
I would just request that the town be very specific when it defines construction and where you're talking about the construction. Because I think utilities, I don't know if we can put a moratorium on utilities.
Because I just got a,
And that's the
I got
problem,
a-
it's the
Angelo, I
utilities,
just
it's
got a phone
not
call
us.
today.
Right.
For his ward, I got a phone call today, and I was gonna talk to him tonight after the meeting. There's a whole section that Kent County Water is gonna start back up, and we just paved. They're gonna go and dig it up. There's a couple other roads over there that were just paved within the last few years, and they're gonna go dig all them roads up and put new water lines in them. And I remember specifically, we asked them for a list.
Yep.
They supplied us that list, and, you know, they called me today and said, well, how is doors getting torn up? And I said, well, wait a minute, where'd you hear this from? They said Kent County Water. I said, well, we'll have to confirm that, and that's why I was gonna talk to you and try to.
You better confirm that.
Yeah.
Because these were roads that I guess Councilman Kenningham just had paved.
Right.
Doors just got done.
Yeah, and they're gonna be tearing that up. Doors, and there's another road off there.
The only other avenue.
Hasn't been
A
done.
restraining order. or
Yeah, they
preliminary
signed,
injunction.
I know.
they signed it. We made them sign it.
That's it, they signed it, they're gonna,
I'm
they
just
don't have a
letting you know
leg to
what was
stare at.
told to me today. I'm just, don't kill the
In
messenger.
light of that,
That's right, see you in 5 years.
well, in light of that, what we can do is go to court regarding a preliminary injunction or temporary restraining order, enforcing what they already promised by not.
Because, use the example, well, I mean, other wards, but I'm concerned of my ward, Wakefield Street and River Street. That is a disaster, and I'm going on and on and on, and nothing gets
Angelo,
done.
You got your section.
Exactly.
117's a disaster. I take both them roads, and there's no way out of West Warwick right now.
There's,
without-
exactly, and what it's
Getting
doing
a
to the
bumpy ride.
automobiles, what it's doing to the people's cars. It took 100,000 miles off the life of their suspension. Well, I'm not gonna get on it.
I wanna know if we can legally do it. That's the only
Well,
concern. I
then
don't wanna
that's
sit
what-
here and bicker about it.
Can
in
we
this meeting.
legally do it? We can do anything legally, all right? But there's gonna be a tribunal at some point in time that's gonna say, no, you can't, or yes, you can. But right now, because of some of the federal components, state components, some of the regulatory components versus statutory components, there is an issue as to whether or not a municipality can prevent a utility, Kent County Water Authority, National Grid.
What happens though,
NYMEX.
Tim, and you know what happens, oh, you know what, we got a nice day this November, so let's dig up Providence Street, we dig it all up, we don't have to fix it, we just keep patching it. It's not right, it shouldn't happen.
If the town was going to get information into the future, for example, Kent County Water Authority, what roads do you plan to work on in April?
Look, they just said they weren't gonna do Dawes Street and they're gonna rip it up.
I'm just saying as a hypothetical, go to court, seeking a restraining order or a preliminary injunction because of what they already promised not to do in their prior agreements. Now, they'd have to come forth and say there's been a substantial change in circumstances. There's a health, safety, and welfare reason as to why don't we have to open this road. And then put the burden on them as providing why they have to open it versus we just want to open it because we have a nice day and we have some asphalt to get rid of.
Well, the other problem, the other question I have is when's the next time the traffic commission meets? Can we put down on there, I'm having a lot of problems up Prospect Hill, I called the chief today, we're having a trailer put there, speeding kids with the bus stops, they're going around them, it's a disaster up there in the morning and afternoon. But the other thing that came to my attention, if we can get a stop sign, where I would request a stop sign, is going up Prospect Hill from Providence Street or coming down Prospect Hill from Wilson Street, where the McTeers Court, Diaz Court section is, a stop sign to slow these kids down, these people down. There's no stop signs at all except for intersections or whatever, but on that main drag, we're not slowing them down. They just one run and they're gone. So I'm requesting now that a stop sign be put. Prospect Hill is sort of like the middle section.
I don't want to be the negative Nelly, however, we, as a traffic commission and a police department, frown upon making stop signs speed enforcement because they cause a lot of problems other than just putting a stop sign up. I understand many people will stop, therefore they have to go slower, but the problem is speed enforcement, speed awareness. So our education program, getting a radar trailer up there, trying to increase enforcement, overall is a much better plan than just throwing stop signs up everywhere. Like Coit Ave is probably one of the worst streets in the area because you have 4 stop signs now to go Coit Ave. Does it curb some speeding?
Yes, it does.
But as a practice, the feds and the state don't use stop signs as
The
a
only
speed
practice, Mark, that I really care about right now
Is people
is the
slowing
kids.
down.
Is the
Right.
kids that there is safety. That's the main thing. I mean, I was born and brought up in that section, and I know with a stop sign there, is it going to stop it? No. A radar going to stop it? No. Is anything you put there? It's not. You put all the white lines you want, they're going to cross them. You put all the speed limit sign, and there's no speed limit signs up there either. Dave, we gotta get some back up there. But
See, unfortunately, society now is too fast. I mean, when you're in driver training, people tell you the speed limit in the state of Rhode Island is 25 miles an hour unless it's posted otherwise.
well, we're putting
You don't need
legislation
to-
into
I mean,
making a residential's 15.
It's horrible to have to say you need to put stop signs up or speed signs everywhere because it just doesn't look attractive.
Everybody's
And
in a
it
rush
costs-
to get to the
and-
next red light.
Right.
I mean, it's not attractive in a residential neighborhood. I mean, I have a stop sign in the corner of my yard. I wish it didn't have to be there. You look out my front window, it's a stop sign. It's unfortunate. Is that the answer? Maybe.
I think that would solve 80% of the problem on Prospect Hill. That section right there, whether you're coming up it or going down it, because you have the stop sign on Dyer's Court and you have the stop sign on Matthias. So now you're going this way, if it only be, you got 4 corners right there. 1 and 1.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Angelo, I'm actually talking to some of the neighbors on Knight Street, and, you know, I'm really starting to contemplate these speed humps.
That's next, but I mean.
Because I will tell you, personally, going to East Greenwich last week or North Kingston, one of their schools, all the back roads, all speed humps. And that used to be, I know as a kid,
back of
coming
East
from
Greenwich.
Goddard Park,
Yep.
cutting right
Oh,
across
yeah.
that street, used to
That
be.
was there for years.
Cut through and go, fly as fast as you
Right.
can. Well, now, they put these speed humps in, and I'll tell you what, I mean,
You can't go fast.
I went flying once, but I learned my lesson real quick after that. And, you know, I have it on Knight Street, because everybody wants to avoid the red
I
light
had
near
one
Louise's.
put on Ball Avenue, stopped all the
I
problems.
mean, we all have them.
Had it all stopped the problem.
So again, our job is just to advise you. I mean, we're gonna take our expertise. The town planner will give you his expertise. The police department will give you enforcement, the fire trucks, DPW. We'll give you our recommendation. You folks can take it or leave it. I mean,
No,
we're
I
just giving,
understand.
I'm paid to give you law enforcement advice. And you folks obviously are answerable to the people that vote for you in your ward, so.
A gentleman came here and bickered about, and we all agreed with him, but I think it's a total waste of time. He's right over there on Factory Street. That stop sign on top of the high school.
I'm the one that had it done. I never stopped once at it. I keep forgetting this.
Yes, I've done it 3 times.
The worst decision I ever made in my life.
But I'm only saying.
We'll put that in the mail.
Drop the mic.
Believe me, I agree with that one. But when you had 40 residences and 220 to sign the petition, me and Giroux went for it. And it was the worst stop sign that we ever had
Yeah,
put
'cause it
up.
comes up on, especially if you've been driving that road
Because
so many years, you
90%
totally
of the time,
forget.
you can't even see it. And the people who do see it, so when you're flying by it, they give you, you know, the hello. But I had it put up, and I don't think I stopped at it twice. I'm being honest.
You know, I think we all probably have multiple streets in our wards. At Coit Avenue, I do think the stop signs work personally.
Crossland
And
Road too, they help.
On Pulaski Street, and I brought this up since I've been elected, it's just, I don't think I've ever seen a car go under 25 on Pulaski Street. And we have a daycare over there. And I travel that road 4 or 5 times a day. I almost hit somebody coming out of daycare. It's just, I think it's a safety issue. We have a bus stop on Pulaski Street, which I've had people call me on. It's been on social media. It's a huge safety issue. I'm in talks with the superintendent right now to just get it off the main road. My truck was totaled on coming from Manchester to Pulaski Street.
But that pulling
And
out of that
it's-
spot is awful.
It's in the bus stop, it's the narrowest section of the road. I
That
think-
should be moved. That,
Fred,
whatever you have to
I know we talked
do.
about that, and I know there's regulations to follow, but it's.
That's a mess.
And I've had a lot more time where I've been able to look at it in the morning and in the afternoon. There's nothing I can do, you know, except just watch it. But the speed is incredible, both ways. And I mean, Tim, I'm sure you can agree.
I drive 25 miles an hour every time I'm on Pulaski Street, Office do not.
Your typical lying lawyer.
Robinson.
I swear that I don't go over 25 miles an hour.
Robinson Way is just.
I'm
as
getting
bad.
out of the way. 'Cause
But
I'm right
anyway,
straight.
I would like to be, have that put on the agenda anyway for the,
What, my
I
driving
appreciate
record?
it.
All right, anything else, Angelo?
No, I just had that, thank you.
Fred, I know I talked to you about, the same type of trash cans are up here in Arctic, in the Phoenix area. I think I located 3 locations, they're all no parking areas, so that should alleviate any cars. That was one thing I met with a couple of people down there in the business over the weekend. So that will alleviate, so once what I'll do is I'll just send it off to you an email, I'll put the pictures of where they should be. That way there, cause one thing I noticed was if these cans were gonna be there, cars will be parked there, and if they, how would they pick it up if cars are there?
Well, that's the problem we have in Arctic, but
So,
that's why we try to put them in.
I got some designated areas, no parking, so they should be pretty easy to access.
On the topic of trash cans, Freddie, did we get that? Is that other trash can? I haven't been by there yet. There's the trash can on the corner of Bank Street.
We took it off today.
Okay, I haven't been by there. Thank you. I also want to quickly, I'll make it quick, that we have the official West Warwick Town Facebook page. It was operational before, but I've tried to, especially during the snowstorms, keep it just information. No, like I said, no Maury Povich. Just strictly information. We've added about almost 1,000 members to the Facebook page in the past since the last meeting. So if you haven't joined it, Town of West Warwick RI Facebook page, the official page. No Maury Povich. That's the tagline for it. So.
All right. Any other questions for Fred? Thank you, Fred. John? Finance update?
The finance update basically was the audit report presentation tonight, and again, I'll mention again that the audit report is online, and I will put that summary on as well, so the public can take a look at any of the reports or contact us for any questions. And as you have a chance to take a look at the full report, if there are any questions, feel free to email me. I'd be some time before I reply to it, but I can at least, Joanne will be taking care of day-to-day operations in my absence.
Right?
So. What's that?
You're going to be able to text, right?
I was told they're not going to give my phone to me for at least 3 days, but that was my wife, not the doctor. So we'll see how that works
so
out.
Be
But in
careful
any case,
what we text you because it could be your wife.
right, exactly.
All right.
But all seriousness, Joanne Colley will be, as a deputy, will be taking over the day-to-day operations. She'll be getting any emails that are sent to me. So if there are any questions with the audit, feel free to reach out to her, and she will get you any of the answers that you may need, or to any of the questions you have. So that's all.
Thank you, John. Thanks, John.
John, again, good luck.
Thank you.
Make sure you hide the spare set of car keys.
Upcoming appointments, Board of Assessment Review, 1 3-year term, Recreation Committee member, Ward 3 and Ward 4, Board of Canvassers and Registration, 6-year term, West Warwick Public Library, Board of Trustees, Technology Committee, Ward 2, 3, and 5.
Yeah, what happened to one? They put the kid that was in there, did he reapply?
Sage, I don't know if,
Yeah, he got reappointed.
Okay.
wasn't
yeah,
he?
Ward 1's
Yeah.
not on here.
Yeah, he got
that's all.
reappointed.
And,
a while
and
back.
what
Board
happened
of
to the
Tenant
planning-
Affairs.
Planning board opening. There was a planning board opening on your last meeting.
That got taken care of because we appointed, didn't we?
No, zoning.
Zoning, not planning.
Yeah, we appointed for zoning. It was
Yeah,
just
zoning, but
Richard
it was
Bates.
planning last
Nah,
month.
there's no appointments on.
That's what I said. Who was the plan? It was on there last month.
Let me go check. I was just on that last agenda.
Let's see. Planning board was on there.
There's no
Unless
planning
I'm imagining.
Yeah, you're imagining.
No,
board.
sir.
You're
Much
dreaming.
fun.
No, I don't think so. Not enough. Was it on there?
Huh? No. Not that I can see.
Upcoming appointments, last agenda?
Not online. Well, not on February 7th.
Were you thinking of zoning board?
No, planning.
Because we
Okay.
just appointed.
Listen, you've been in the sun a lot last week.
See? 2 seconds.
All right, public comment. Council first, you got anything? John? Nothing? Jack, come on up.
I need a resolution for Saturday night, citation.
Good evening, everyone. John Lancelota, 32 River Ave in town, West Warwick. First of all, I wanted to thank the young man from, is his name Devin?
Devin.
Yeah, from Troop 1. That's a very innovative project, the Code Red. That's why I'm here. I just wanted to thank the town council and the clerk's office. They prepared a very elaborate citation for a young man from Troop 39 Crompton, who just completed it actually in June, and he had his Eagle Scout Court of Honor over the weekend. And he did an extraordinary job. Also want to thank the Department of Public Works because they had helped out some of the cement piles that he had replaced. Quite a bit of money was invested. He did a fabulous job, and very proud of him what he did. So I just wanted to thank the town council and the clerk's office for putting that citation together, because it was done in a quick time slot there. You know, we got the invitation
That's
that
why
night.
when you texted me, Jack, I said, buddy, I'm in South
Well,
Beach.
I've been communicating with David
Jack,
for a while.
Jack, I apologize. I actually misread your email. I didn't know that we actually wanted us to do it here. But I'm glad, thank you for delivering that for us.
Yes, appreciate it.
Because it was very hectic last weekend. So again, thank you for doing that for us.
I just want to thank everybody. Thank
Who's
you.
his representative, Jack? He wasn't from West Warwick, right? He's from Coventry?
He lives in Coventry, yes. He's Troop 31 in Crompton. Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Jack.
I have one thing that I received a text last week. Daring middle school players are looking for ads for the playbook. Wants to know if the town, we did it last year as a town council, wants to know if we want to do it again this year.
Yeah.
So, Paul, if you could take care of that.
Zoom to zoom. Quick.
You got the picture?
Not yet.
They gave you the picture. Didn't they email it to you? I picked it.
Yeah, but how am I gonna? I can send it.
Did you
can
send
me a
that?
proof.
Did you send that to the Sons of Italy too?
Yes, I did. You're all
I didn't see
set.
the new pictures.
So she's got the picture.
Well,
No,
Dave picked the picture, so if you guys don't like it,
Look, Chris, if
blame
our
Dave.
eyes are closed or
Listen
something.
to him. I picked the picture for the Sons of Italy.
Just in the portrait
I'm
in the
sure Dave
hallway.
looks good.
No, actually, I went by what the photographer said. He said pick one of these two because the other ones were our hands weren't folded up front, so it was the two. Jay has his hat on.
I liked one, and then Dave didn't like the one I liked, so he picked.
Because
So he
Angelo,
picked for the hallway
Angelo,
and
you
the
had one eye
pamphlet.
this way, one eye this way. She wanted that
Same thing, you had one ear this way and one ear that way?
It's still that way too, so. But she has the picture that's going to the Sons of Italy, that's the picture the portrait. We gotta pick a frame.
Is there a cost to that? Do you
$100.
$100? You hear that right? Oh.
And DMS
Let
players are
Andy
playing
know.
what, the 10th, the weekend of the 10th, is that right?
Yep.
Should be a good play, Little Mermaid, I think, is that right?
I'm not sure. Jay, you didn't feed me that information. Anything else? Hearing that,
Motion to adjourn.
A second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? See you next Tuesday. Jay, who will you be with next week?